Wow.
Just sending let me just tell you, there's wrote, Don, this email serves as notice that you have been added to my official pursuer list, and your little dog, too. Glenn.
There's a reason that guy's a legend, man.
That is what, I don't even know how much of that went on the air.
Very little. It was about 30 seconds long to most of the audience.
Yeah, that is one of the funniest segments. I don't think we've ever had a funnier segment than that. He is just a riot. Just a riot. And one of the smartest men, and so well-read, and truly, truly kind on the inside. On the outside, mean as hell.
Mm-hmm. And there was a time when he was mean as hell, too, on the inside. Mm-hmm. I think he's changed.
Oh, yeah.
You know? He's changed since 1983.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we all have. If you haven't, you're...
Oh, I went the other way.
You're the president.
I used to be nice, and now I'm a lot meaner than I was.
That is true.
That is
you used
true.
to be nice, and you are really you're because it's years and years of pain.
Yes, and years of BS, and so you know between those two things, I've been beaten down. Yeah, and now I'm just plain mean.
You are the guy that you're Walter Matthau. And you're the guy who comes out and screams, "Get the hell off my lawn!" And it's great.
By the way, can we, with Joe Scarborough being in the news today, can we give Don Imus credit for an old prediction of his? Joe Scarborough had a radio show on WABC.
Oh, yeah. And Don was not a fan of that.
No, and it went into...
Neither was anybody else.
Supposedly hiatus.
Well, yeah, they had to figure out how to do the third hour.
Yeah, he used that.
They're still meeting on that today.
Yeah,
right.
Because they said they had a 2-hour show. We had to figure out how to do a third hour, so they just took the show off the air. That was legitimately their excuse.
He also said he was looking for a more competitive time slot.
That was a separate other failure of his radio show that he said he needed to make more competitive. But Imus said at the time, and he was on the station with him, his radio show is canceled. They're not revamping anything. He will never be on WABC in New York again, ever. 100% correct.
It was true.
Yes.
Exactly right.
Until they can figure out how to do the third hour. Then they will be back on.
If technically we can find a way to get more, delay in the show so we can delete more of the words, he's got to come back. He is just absolutely hysterical, and as Stu said, a legend for a reason. Holy cow, it's going to take me days to recover from Don Imus being on the program. I don't know how much of that was edited, because it was edited at we have something called a dump button, and it's a 7-second delay, and so I don't know. Sarah, did you dump things out of that?
Oh, several times.
Really?
A lot of people are reacting because they were listening, depending on where you were listening. If you're on the stream or you're on TV, well, you got all of that, and you're welcome.
Oh my gosh, we have to post the raw in case because of the FCC, we couldn't, we had to dump, and honestly because of our tender sensibilities as well, but hysterical, absolutely hysterical. It's sad that he's going to be dead probably very, very soon.
That was a good last interview, though. I mean, if you're going to
really was
have one.
Really was. And when he started to cough.
I was worried about him when he started to cough. I thought
when he started to cough, I was actually,
the moment right there.
I actually had a moment where I had a moment when he started to cough where I'm thinking, good Lord, let him die right now. It'll be huge news.
Huge.
And then I realized we're going into a 5-day weekend, so it'll be buried. Come back on a Tuesday, Don, so people can chew on it all week. But
you have said before, I think you said it last week, earlier this week maybe, that someday you're going to release a book of all of your emails back and forth. It would be tremendous. The ones you've let us see are
I would love to.
So good and so funny and so mean.
Yeah, I have to get Don's permission or wait until he dies. So either way, by Wednesday, I can make a decision. And the email exchanges, and the nice thing about Don, and I love this, Don, he swings a hard punch. But he doesn't really mean it. You know what I mean? His dog is not going to come and do those things to me, I think. And so he doesn't mean it. And he only punches when he really is either really, truly disgusted by somebody or he likes them.
Yes.
And you know, when I first went on with him...
And you can tell the difference. You know he's truly disgusted by Joe Scarborough. He genuinely likes you.
Yeah. And so when I went on his show the first time, I rolled the dice thinking that Don was a lot like me. I love it when people make fun of me to my face. And they hit me, you know, just as hard as they possibly can. I love it. I think it's hysterical. And so I rolled the dice that Don liked that. And I don't remember what it was, but man, I came out swinging, and he laughed so hard. And I was on his show, his TV show, for about 20 minutes that nobody watched. No, I just wanted to add some actual facts in here. Mm-hmm. And he just loved it. And we started writing to each other, and his emails are so hysterical. There's not a kind thing said between us. And that's really why it disturbed me so much that he sent me a picture of his little puppy dog, because honestly, that's a sign of death is imminent. He's thinking about little puppy dogs and the man he could have been. And just before he dies, he hits send. Look at this cute little puppy dog. But there's not a kind word said between us, and yet we adore each other. And I have saved all of the emails just because there's no email like a Don Imus email. There's just none. Mm-hmm. You know, like the exchange that I think I said this on the air a couple of weeks ago. We wrote back and forth, and I hadn't talked to him in a while. And, you know, I'll get just an email from him, and he'll catch the show, and he'll say, have another piece of cake. And that's all he'll say. And so I actually wrote to his address last week, and I said in the subject line, it was sorry to hear the news. And I said, Deirdre, sorry to hear the news about Don's death. Just wanted to know if, you know, now that the ball and chain is dead, and you've got some cash laying around, if you wanted to get together. And
to his address. And he wrote back as her, and he said, "It's so nice to hear from you. It wasn't his death wasn't a surprise to us. He had been complaining about having a hard time to breathe, but it might have been the pillow I was holding over his face."
So funny.
She said, "I'd love to get together with you, but that stick of a wife, what was her name, Bambi? Is she still around?" And it only went really downhill from there.
Yeah. I mean, that whole team. I mean, Charles McCord, Bernie. I mean, Mike Breen, who is now one of the biggest, play-by-play guys in the NBA. He's, God only knows how much money he makes. The stuff they used to do on that show with his sports reports is some of the funniest stuff in the history of the medium.
It's funny, too, after what we just heard, his second radio station, his first real job in radio, he got fired for saying the word hell on the air. Put that in context. From 1968 to today.
Well, that happened to you, too, didn't it, Gunn? I mean, Washington, D.C.,
I was in Washington, D.C. It was 1982, and I think I said the word crap, or it was something like that. And I got a full-page memo saying, I don't know who you think you are or where you are, but this is Washington, D.C., the home of the nation's capital and the FCC, and we don't use language like that on the air. I was like, wow. And I remember feeling like, oh, man, I've really gone over the line here. I shouldn't have said crap. And almost everything Don just said that we had to edit out for air is said all the time in conversation, and most shows will let it air. There was only one word, I think, that he said that legally can't be said on the air, but we edit just for sensibilities. But you hear this stuff from radio shows everywhere, but we just like to have a little higher standard of language, which, is maybe why we're number 3 and not number 1. But it's amazing how much radio has truly changed, and especially this way. Don Imus is truly one of the smart. He is Penn Jillette smart. Penn is one of the most well-read people I've ever met, and thinks about absolutely everything and has done his homework. Don is the same way. He's probably the smartest guy probably ever on radio, especially any kind of entertainment radio. He can hold his own in almost every single subject. And he was a pioneer of things like, candid phone and phony phone calls. You know, he was the first guy, and it made huge news. He called a McDonald's up in like 1972.
Ordered 1,200 hamburgers.
Yeah, and said he was on the military base, and they were on their way, and he needed 1,200 hamburgers to go, and he needed, X number with pickles, X number without, and, this is before, special orders don't upset us, and he aired it on the air and got into a lot of trouble for it. It is totally, now it would not even hardly be funny because everything is over the top now. Back then, nobody did that, and that's one of the first things that he did. What he started with was what was his name? Billy Sol Hargis, the preacher.
That's right, yeah.
And
which is kind of how he started the interview.
Yeah, God's other son. I mean, this guy pioneered so much, and you listen to especially morning radio. Now he was doing top 40 radio at NBC. And wicked smart. And you listen to most music radio now in the morning, and they're just, I'm surprised they can tell the difference between a fork and a knife in the kitchen. Some of the people now doing morning radio are just dumb as a box of rocks. There was a time that it took real intelligence to do morning radio, and then Glenn and Pat started doing morning radio, and that went to hell.
Yeah.
So.
Right out the window.
Anyway. So do we have him back on again, or is it too dangerous for...
Let's see if we have an FCC license first, and then we'll answer that question.
Mm-hmm.